when my granddaughter Kayla announced to her sweet 16 party guests, "Grandma makes everyone uncomfortable, and she is embarrassing. She should leave." I smiled, gathered my purse, and walked out quietly. What she did not know was that I had just spent $13,500 on her perfect party. But here is what really happened. On my drive home that night, I called my financial advisor and made some changes that would teach Kayla exactly what uncomfortable really means. My name is Evelyn Carter. I am 75 years old, and I live in Seattle, Washington. For the past 6 years, I have been building something my family never expected from a retired teacher. While they thought I was stretching my modest pension to help them, I was actually creating a financial foundation that supported their entire lifestyle. You see, when my husband Frank passed away 7 years ago, he left me with some life insurance money and his pension rollover. What started as a widow trying to make her nest egg last turned into something much bigger. I taught myself about investing, started small, and watched that money grow in ways that would shock my daughter and granddaughter. They had no idea that their comfortable life, Kayla's private school education, her car, her designer clothes, even that elaborate sweet 16 party, all came from my investment portfolio. They thought I was just a generous grandmother making sacrifices. They never imagined I was actually a woman with real financial power, choosing to share it with people I loved. But that night, sitting in my car outside the country club, listening to the music and laughter continuing like nothing had happened, I realized something important. Kayla did not see me as her loving grandmother who had been supporting her dreams. She saw me as an embarrassment. What happened over the next month taught my granddaughter and daughter a lesson about respect, gratitude, and what happens when you bite the hand that has been feeding your entire lifestyle. Because sometimes the people who love you most need to learn what life looks like without you. And sometimes stepping back is the kindest thing you can do for everyone involved. Let me tell you how a widow with a teacher's pension became the secret financial backbone of an ungrateful family, and how I used that power when they finally showed me who they really were. 7 years ago, when my husband Frank died suddenly of a heart attack, I felt completely lost. We had been married for 43 years, and he had always handled our investments. There I was at 68, sitting in our small Seattle, Washington apartment with his life insurance payout of $200,000 and his pension rollover of $70,000, wondering how to make it last for the rest of my life. I spent that first year just surviving, getting through each day without. Frank felt impossible, let alone thinking about money or the future. I was living off our small savings while I grieved watching those insurance funds sit in a basic checking account, earning practically nothing. But then something shifted. Maybe it was my teaching background. Or maybe it was Frank's voice in my head, reminding me that I had always been good with numbers. I started reading books about investing from the library. I watched financial YouTube channels late at night when I could not sleep. I even took an online course about stock market basics from the community college. 6 years ago, I took my first real step. I was terrified of losing Frank's money, but I was more terrified of outliving it. I put $55,000 into index funds and $35,000 into dividend stocks just to see what would happen. That is when my daughter Megan called me crying. She had been divorced for 3 years, working in marketing, and barely making ends meet. Kayla had just been accepted to Brookside Academy, this prestigious private school, but the tuition was $27,000 a year. "Mom, I do not know what to do." Megan sobbed over the phone. "Kayla is so excited about this school, but I cannot afford it. I feel like such a failure as a mother." I looked at my little investment account, which had already grown to almost $320,000 in just 1 year. I had made $50,000 in gains that I never expected, so I told Megan not to worry, that I would handle Kayla's education. Megan was shocked. "Mom, I cannot let you spend down your inheritance money for this. Frank worked too hard for that. But what Megan did not understand was that my little stock portfolio was not shrinking. It was growing faster than I had ever imagined possible. While she thought I was sacrificing my security for Kayla's future, I was actually building something much bigger than Frank and I had ever dreamed of. I started small with helping them. Car insurance here, $200 a month. Some nice clothes for Kayla there, maybe $300. Tutoring when she struggled with math, $400 monthly. Megan would thank me constantly, saying things like, "Mom, you are stretching your budget so much for us. I feel terrible." If only she knew. My portfolio kept growing. By year 3, I had $410,000. By year 6, I was looking at $700,000. I was making about $55,000 a year in investment gains, which was more than enough to cover the $34,000 I was spending annually on their lifestyle. I kept living in my same small apartment, driving my 2015 Toyota shopping at thrift stores. Not because I had to, but because I wanted every dollar working for our family's future. Megan would see me checking my phone, looking at my investment app, and she would smile. "Mom, you and your little stock hobby. I am glad you have something to keep you busy." Little stock hobby. If she only knew that her mother had become quite the investor. 4 years ago, when Kayla turned 12, I opened a $529 college savings plan without telling them. I have been putting $100 to $100 a month into it, and with growth, it is now worth $64,000. Megan has no idea that Kayla's college education is already mostly funded. Over these past 3 years at Brookside Academy, I have been covering Kayla's tuition, her car payments, and all the extras that come with keeping up at an elite private school. When they needed emergency money for car repairs or medical bills, I was there. When Kayla wanted to go on that expensive class trip to Europe last year, for $3,800, I made it happen. Megan would always say, "Mom, you are such a generous grandmother. I do not know how you do it on your teacher's pension." The truth was, I was not living on my pension at all. I was living off the investment gains from the portfolio I had built. But I let them think I was making sacrifices because I wanted them to appreciate what they were receiving. Last month, when Kayla started planning her Sweet 16 party, she came to me with this elaborate vision. Country club venue, professional catering designer decorations, the kind of party her wealthy classmates threw. I quietly transferred $9,000 from my investment gains and saved another $4,500 from my monthly budget over 6 months. $13,000 to $500 for one party, more than many families spend on a car. But I wanted to give Kayla the celebration of her dreams. I wanted to see her face light up when she saw everything I had arranged. I was so excited that Saturday morning, overseeing every detail at the country club, pink and gold decorations, elegant centerpieces, a photo booth with custom backdrop. I had created the party that would make Kayla the envy of all her friends. What I did not expect was that in trying to give Kayla everything she wanted, I had forgotten to teach her the most important thing of all, gratitude. The changes in Kayla started slowly right after she began at Brookside Academy. At 13, she was suddenly surrounded by kids whose parents were doctors, lawyers, and tech executives. Kids who lived in million-dollar homes and took family vacations to Europe. At first, it was just small comments. "Grandma, why do you not dress nicer?" "My friend's grandparents wear designer clothes." Or, "Why do you drive such an old car?" "Ava's grandmother has a Cadillac." I tried to laugh it off. After all, I could afford nicer things. I just chose to invest my money instead of wearing it. But Kayla did not understand that choice. The school events were when I really started to notice the difference. I would show up to parent nights or graduation ceremonies in my simple department store dresses and sensible shoes, while other grandparents arrived in expensive outfits and luxury cars. I could see Kayla looking around, comparing me to her classmates' families. Her friend group made everything worse. Ava, whose parents were both cardiologists. Logan, whose father owned some tech company. Olivia, who lived in a $2 million house in the hills. These kids had never heard the word budget in their lives, and Kayla started wanting to keep up with them. "Grandma, I really need this backpack for school. It is only $450, and everyone has one. Or can you help me get these shoes? They are $320, but I will be the only one without them. Every time Kayla asked for something, I found a way to make it happen. When she wanted to go on that class trip to Europe, I transferred $3,800 without blinking. I thought I was helping her fit in, helping her feel confident among her wealthy classmates. Megan would always add her voice to these requests. Mom, you do not understand how competitive this school is. These kids notice everything. Kayla needs these things to belong. So I kept giving designer clothes, expensive shoes, the latest technology. When Kayla needed a car for her 16th birthday, I co-signed for a nice Toyota and covered the monthly payments. $275 every month, which Megan thought was stretching my budget but barely made a dent in my investment returns. The family started treating my financial help like it was automatic. Car repairs, call Grandma. Medical bills not covered by insurance. Grandma will handle it. Home maintenance issues. Mom, can you help us out with $2,000 for the roof leak? I remember one particularly expensive month when their air conditioning broke in the middle of summer. $300 for a new unit. Megan called me in tears, saying they could not afford it, and Kayla was complaining about the heat affecting her homework. I transferred the money that same day. But what hurt was that when I called Megan later to check if the repair went well, she was already asking about something else Kayla needed for school. My investment portfolio kept growing beautifully. By the time Kayla turned 15, I was sitting on $700,000, earning around $55,000 a year in gains. But instead of feeling proud of my financial success, I was starting to feel like an ATM with legs. The real pain started when Kayla began acting embarrassed by me. She would decline rides to school, saying she would rather take the bus. She stopped inviting me to school functions. When I would show up anyway, she would give me these stiff, uncomfortable hugs and quickly move away. I will never forget the school bake sale incident. I made my famous chocolate chip cookies the same recipe I had used when Megan was little. I was so proud to contribute something homemade to Kayla's school. But when I arrived at the table to set them down, Kayla acted like she did not even know me. One of her friends asked, "Kayla, who is that lady with the cookies?" And Kayla just shrugged and said, "I do not know, just some volunteer." I stood there, holding my plate of cookies, watching my granddaughter pretend I did not exist. The granddaughter whose education, car clothes, and social activities I had been funding with my own hard-earned investment gains. When Kayla started talking about her Sweet 16 party, I was actually excited. Maybe this would be a chance for us to connect again. She came to me with her vision of the perfect celebration at the country club, and I could see how much it meant to her. "Grandma, I want it to be absolutely perfect. All my friends are having their parties there, and I want mine to be just as good." I started planning immediately. Over 6 months, I carefully saved $4,500 from my monthly budget and transferred another $9,000 from my investment gains. Venue, rental, catering, decorations, professional photography, DJ, everything Kayla had dreamed of. Megan kept saying, "Mom, this is too much. We cannot let you spend this kind of money." But I wanted to do it. I thought that if I gave Kayla the party of her dreams, she would remember how much her grandmother loved her. I thought she would be proud to have me there, proud to introduce me to her friends as the grandmother who made it all possible. I spent weeks coordinating with the country club, choosing the perfect decorations, making sure every detail matched Kayla's vision. Pink and gold everywhere, elegant centerpieces, a photo booth with props, professional lighting for the dancing. The morning of the party, I was so excited I could barely sleep. I kept thinking about Kayla's face when she saw everything I had arranged for her. I imagined her hugging me, thanking me, maybe even introducing me proudly to her friends. What I did not imagine was that the party I had spent $13,500 creating would become the setting for the most hurtful moment of my life. Because while I was busy trying to buy Kayla's love and acceptance, I had forgotten to teach her the most basic lesson about respect and gratitude. And she was about to teach me a lesson I will never forget. The morning of Kayla's sweet 16. I arrived at Brookside Country Club 2 hours early. I wanted to oversee every single detail myself. After all, this was my gift to her, and I was determined to make it perfect. Walking through those elegant halls, watching the staff arrange the pink and gold decorations I had carefully chosen, I felt so proud. The ballroom looked like something from a fairy tale. Elegant centerpieces with white roses and gold accents, twinkling lights strung across the ceiling, a professional photo booth with custom props spelling out Sweet 16. Even the cake was a work of art. 3 tiers with delicate sugar flowers. Everything I dreamed of giving Kayla was coming together beautifully. I went home to get ready, choosing my outfit carefully. I wore my best navy dress, the one I had bought from Macy's 3 years ago, for Megan's company Christmas party. Simple pearl earrings that Frank had given me for our 20th anniversary. I looked respectable, dignified, or so I thought. When I arrived back at the country club that evening, the parking lot was already filling up with cars that cost more than most people's annual salary. Cadillacs, Infinitis, even a Lucid. I parked my 2015 Toyota between an Acura and a Volvo, suddenly feeling very aware of the difference. Inside, Kayla looked absolutely stunning. The designer dress I had helped pay for $450 of soft pink silk fit her perfectly. Her makeup had been done professionally, another expense I had covered. She was surrounded by her friends, all of them looking like they had stepped out of a magazine. I walked up to her with a huge smile, my arms open for a hug. "Happy birthday, sweetheart. Does not everything look beautiful?" Kayla gave me the briefest, stiffest hug I had ever received from her. "Thanks, Grandma," she said quickly, then immediately turned back to her friends. That should have been my first warning. I tried to mingle with the other adults, but the differences were glaring. The other grandparents were wearing designer outfits that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. Expensive jewelry caught the light as they gestured with manicured hands. Their conversations were about European vacations and investment properties. I approached a group of Kayla's friends, trying to be friendly. "You must be Ava. Kayla talks about you all the time." Ava looked me up and down with barely concealed confusion. "Oh, hi." Her tone was polite but cold, like she was talking to hired help. Logan, standing nearby, whispered something to Olivia that made her giggle. I caught the words "old lady" and felt my cheeks burn. I tried to stay positive. This was Kayla's night, and I wanted it to be perfect for her. When the catering staff needed direction about the dinner service, I stepped in to help coordinate. When the DJ had questions about the playlist, I made sure he had Kayla's favorite songs ready. But I noticed the looks I was getting. The subtle way Kayla's friends would step away when I approached, the way they glanced at each other when I spoke. I overheard Ava say to another girl, "Why is that old lady acting like she is in charge? She looks like she works here." My heart started to sink. I realized that in my simple department store dress surrounded by all this luxury, I must have looked completely out of place. But this was my granddaughter's party. I had every right to be here. I had paid for every detail of this evening. The moment that broke my heart happened about an hour into the party. I was standing near the dessert table watching Kayla laugh with her friends when I decided to approach them one more time. Maybe if I just tried harder to connect, they would see that I belonged here too. "Are you girls having fun? Is there anything you need?" I asked, smiling warmly at the group. Ava looked annoyed. "We are fine," she said curtly. But Kayla's reaction was worse than anything her friends could have said. I saw panic flash across her face. She looked around at her wealthy classmates, then at me in my simple outfit, and I could practically see her calculating the social cost of having me there. That is when she said the words that will haunt me forever. "Grandma, you are making everyone uncomfortable, and you are embarrassing. You should just leave." The entire party stopped. Conversations died mid-sentence. The music seemed to fade into the background. Everyone was staring at me waiting to see what would happen next. I stood there feeling like I had been slapped. This was the granddaughter I had been supporting for years, whose education I had funded, whose lifestyle I had made possible. She was telling me to leave the party I had paid $13,500 to create. Ava nodded approvingly. "Yeah, this is supposed to be fun, not awkward." Some of the other kids started snickering. I could hear whispered comments behind hands. So embarrassing. Why would she even come, poor Kayla? I looked at Kayla's face, searching for some sign of regret, some indication that she realized how cruel her words were. But all I saw was impatience. She just wanted me gone so she could get back to enjoying her party. The party I had created for her. The party that had cost me more money than some families spend on a car. I took a deep breath. I straightened my shoulders and said quietly, "Of course, sweetheart. I hope you have a wonderful party." I walked through that ballroom with as much dignity as I could muster, past the elegant decorations I had chosen, past the expensive catering I had arranged, past the beautiful cake I had ordered specially for her. Every step felt like a mile. Megan was inside talking to other parents, completely unaware of what had just happened. She did not see her mother being publicly humiliated by the granddaughter we had both worked so hard to support. As I walked to my car, I could hear the music resume behind me. Laughter, conversation, the party continuing as if nothing had happened. As if the woman who had made it all possible had never been there at all. I sat in my Toyota in that parking lot full of luxury cars, listening to the celebration I had funded but was no longer welcome to attend. And that is when it hit me. For 6 years, I had been buying Kayla's love with my money. I had been so focused on giving her everything she wanted that I had never required her to give me anything back. Not respect, not gratitude, not even basic kindness. I had created a monster. And she had just shown me exactly what she thought of the grandmother who had sacrificed so much for her happiness. But as I drove away from that country club, I realized something else. Something that would change everything for both of us. I had more power in this relationship than Kayla could possibly imagine, and it was time for her to learn exactly what she had just thrown away. The drive home from that country club was the longest 20 minutes of my life. I kept replaying Kayla's words in my head. "You are making everyone uncomfortable, and you are embarrassing." The way she had said it so casually, like she was asking me to pass the salt. The way her friends had nodded in agreement. The way the entire party had stopped to watch my humiliation. I pulled into my apartment complex and sat in my car for another 10 minutes, just trying to process what had happened. The granddaughter I had been supporting since she was 13 had just publicly dismissed me, like I was some unwanted stranger who had wandered into her party. But the more I thought about it, the angrier I became. Not just hurt angry, because I realized that this was not really about my outfit or my car, or whether I fit in with the other grandparents. This was about a fundamental lack of respect that had been building for years. When I finally went inside, I did something I had not done in decades. I poured myself a glass of wine, a good bottle I had been saving, and sat down to really think about my situation. That night, I could not sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Kayla's face when she told me to leave. The dismissive way she had looked at me, the relief in her expression when I actually walked away. So I got up and did what I always do when I'm upset. I organized my thoughts on paper. I pulled out all my financial records and started calculating exactly how much I had invested in Kayla's life over the past 3 years. The numbers were staggering even to me. Tuition at Brookside Academy, $27,000 per year, times 3 years, $81,000. Car payments, $275 per month time, 18 months since she got her license, $400 to $950. Clothes, shoes, activities, and social expenses approximately $3,000 per year, times 3 years, $9,000. Emergency expenses I had covered for the family. New roof medical bills, car repairs another $10,000 over the years. The Sweet 16 party, $13,500 for one evening. The college fund I had been building without their knowledge, $48,000 in contributions, now worth $64,000 with growth. I was looking at over $157,500 in direct support, plus the college fund they did not even know existed. And for what? To be told, I was embarrassing and should leave a party I had funded. Sunday morning, I woke up with a clarity I had not felt in years. I made myself coffee and continued my financial review. But this time, I looked at the bigger picture. My investment portfolio had grown to $700,000. I was earning approximately $55,000 per year in gains, more than enough to live comfortably without touching the principal. I could afford to travel, buy nice clothes, move to a better apartment, do all the things I had been putting off while I supported Megan and Kayla's lifestyle. But instead, I had been living like I was still on a tight budget, pouring my investment success into a family that saw me as a resource rather than a person worthy of respect. The more I thought about it, the more I realized how completely they had misunderstood our financial relationship. Megan thought I was stretching my teacher's pension to help them. She felt guilty about accepting my support because she believed I was sacrificing my own security for theirs. The truth was exactly the opposite. I was choosing to support them for my abundance, not my scarcity, and that choice could be changed. Sunday afternoon, I got a text from Kayla. "Thanks for the amazing party, Grandma. All my friends said it was the best Sweet 16 ever. Love you." I stared at that message for a long time. Love you. After telling me I was embarrassing and should leave after humiliating me in front of her friends, after treating me like hired help at an event I had created for her, I texted back simply, "I am glad you enjoyed it, sweetheart." But inside, I was making a decision that would change everything. Monday morning, I called my financial advisor Daniel Morales at exactly 8:00. Daniel had been managing my portfolio growth for the past 4 years, and he had watched it grow from $320,000 to $700,000 with a mixture of pride and amazement. "Daniel, I need to see you today. I want to make some changes to my accounts." We met at his office at 10 that morning. Daniel is a kind man in his 50s who had helped many widows manage their finances. But he told me more than once that my investment success was remarkable for someone who had started learning about the market at 68. "Evelyn, you sounded upset on the phone. Is everything all right?" I told him about the party, about Kayla's words, about the years of financial support that had never translated into respect or gratitude, about the family that saw me as an ATM rather than a beloved grandmother and mother. Daniel listened carefully, taking notes. When I finished, he was quiet for a moment. "Evelyn, what exactly are you thinking of doing? I want to stop all the financial support I've been providing." Immediately, Daniel raised his eyebrows. "That is significant. Let us go through what that would mean." We pulled up all my accounts on his computer, the automatic transfers I had set up to cover various family expenses, the co-signed accounts where I was guaranteeing payments, the college fund contributions. First, I said I want to stop the monthly contributions to Kayla's $529 college fund. No more $1 deposits. Daniel made the change immediately. "Done. That saves you $13,200 per year." Second, I want to stop making Kayla's car payments. Remove my name from the co-signed loan. That will mean Megan will need to take over the full payment responsibility. "Are you sure?" "I am sure." If Kayla can tell me I am embarrassing, she can learn what it costs to maintain the lifestyle that embarrasses her. Daniel processed that change too. The bank will notify them within 48 hours that they need to start making the payments directly. Third, and this is the big one, I will not be paying next quarter's tuition at Brookside Academy. Daniel stopped typing. Evelyn, that is over $6,750. They will need to come up with in 3 weeks. Are you certain about this? I thought about Kayla's face when she dismissed me. About the snickering of her friends about Ava's comment that I looked like hired help. Daniel, my granddaughter, told me I made everyone uncomfortable at a party I spent $13,500 creating. I think it is time she learns what real discomfort feels like and the emergency fund access they have been using. Cut it off, all of it. If there are any accounts where I am a guarantor or co-signer for their credit cards, remove my name. Daniel worked quietly for about 20 minutes, making all the changes I had requested. When he finished, he turned to me with a serious expression. Evelyn, this will have immediate and significant impact on their lifestyle. They have been depending on your support for years. Are you prepared for their reaction? I thought about that question carefully. Was I prepared for Megan's panic when she realized how much she had been depending on me? Was I ready for Kayla's shock when her comfortable life suddenly became much less comfortable? Daniel. For 6 years, I have been choosing to share my financial success with people who took it for granted. I funded a lifestyle for a family that sees me as an embarrassment. I think it is time they learn the difference between my choosing to help them and their being entitled to my help. As I drove home from Daniel's office, I felt something I had not experienced in years. Relief. For the first time since Frank died, I was making decisions based on how I wanted to be treated, not on how much I wanted to be loved. My phone buzzed with a text from Megan. Mom, thank you again for everything you did for Kayla's party. I know it was expensive, and I appreciate how much you sacrifice for us. Sacrifice. She still thought I was sacrificing. She had no idea that I had built a portfolio that could fund their lifestyle indefinitely if they had just shown me basic respect and gratitude. But that was about to change. I texted back. You are welcome, dear. I hope Kayla learned something from the experience. Oh, she was going to learn something. All right, they both were. Because starting right now, Evelyn Carter was no longer funding a lifestyle for people who were embarrassed by her presence, and they were about to discover exactly what their comfortable life had really been costing and who had been paying the bill. The first week after my meeting with Daniel, nothing happened. The changes were processing through various financial institutions, but Megan and Kayla had no idea their world was about to shift dramatically. Kayla even texted me a few times that week asking for small amounts of money. Grandma, can you send me $150 for new shoes? There is this pair all my friends have. And later, can you help me with $200 for concert tickets? Ava's parents are getting them for a group of us. For the first time in years, I said, no, sweetheart, you should ask your mother about those things. I replied to both texts. I could almost feel confusion through the phone. Grandma always said yes. Grandma always found a way to make things happen. Not anymore. The second week is when reality started hitting. Tuesday morning, Megan called me in a panic. Mom, I got the strangest call from the bank. They said I need to start making Kayla's car payments myself. I thought you were handling those. I was, I said calmly, but I have decided it is time for you to take over Kayla's expenses directly. What do you mean, Mom? I cannot afford an extra $275 a month right now. I thought we had an arrangement. We did have an arrangement, Megan, but arrangements can change. There was a long silence on the phone. Is this about something? Did I do something wrong? I almost laughed. Megan had no idea what Kayla had said to me at the party. She had been inside socializing with other parents, completely unaware that her daughter had publicly humiliated the woman funding their entire lifestyle. It is not about you doing something wrong, dear. It is about me making different choices about how I spend my money. But Mom, you know how tight things are for me. I was counting on your help. Counting on it. Not grateful for it. Not appreciative of it. Counting on it like it was her right. I understand this is an adjustment, Megan. But I have confidence you will figure it out. Friday of that second week, the real crisis hit. Megan received a call from Brookside Academy's billing department. Next quarter's tuition payment of $6,750 was due the following Monday, and their automatic payment from my account had been declined. Megan called me immediately, her voice shaking. Mom, there has been some kind of mistake with Kayla's tuition. The school says the payment bounced. Can you call your bank? There is no mistake, Megan. I will not be paying this quarter's tuition. The silence on the phone lasted so long, I thought the call had dropped. What do you mean you will not be paying it? Mom, Kayla is in the middle of her junior year. She cannot just stop going to school. She can absolutely continue going to school. Just not at Brookside Academy. Mom, we cannot afford that tuition without your help. You know that. We have talked about this. Yes, we have talked about it many times, but we have never talked about whether Kayla appreciates the education I have been funding, or whether she respects the grandmother who has made her lifestyle possible. Megan was quiet for a moment. When she spoke again, her voice was smaller. Did something happen at the party? You left early. Something did happen, Megan. Your daughter told me I was embarrassing and making everyone uncomfortable and asked me to leave. At the party I had spent $13,500 creating for her, I heard Megan gasp. She said, "What?" in front of all her friends publicly after I had arranged every detail of her perfect Sweet 16 celebration. Mom, I had no idea. I was talking to other parents inside. Oh my God, I am so sorry. I appreciate your apology, Megan, but it does not change the fact that I have been funding a lifestyle for someone who sees me as an embarrassment. Let me talk to Kayla. We will fix this. She will apologize. It is too late for apologies, dear. The decisions have already been made. That weekend was chaos at Megan's house. I know this because Megan called me 6 times, each conversation more frantic than the last. Saturday. Mom, I have been looking at public schools. Kayla would have to start mid-semester. This will destroy her junior year. Sunday. Mom, Kayla has been crying all day. She says all her friends will think something is wrong with our family. Monday morning. Mom, I had to call in sick to work to go to the school. They need payment by end of business today or Kayla cannot attend classes tomorrow. I felt a little sorry for Megan. She genuinely had not known what Kayla had said to me, but I did not feel sorry enough to change my mind. Tuesday. Kayla called me directly for the first time. She was crying. Grandma, please. Mom says you are not paying for school anymore. Please do not do this to me. My friends will think we are poor. Kayla, you are not poor. Your family just needs to live within your means instead of within mine. But I cannot go to public school. Do you know what that would do to my reputation? I know exactly what it would do, sweetheart. It would teach you what your lifestyle actually costs and who has been paying for it. This is not fair. I did not do anything wrong. That is when I felt my patience finally snap. You did not do anything wrong, Kayla. You told me I was embarrassing and asked me to leave a party I had spent $13,500 creating for you. You humiliated me in front of your friends after I had been supporting your education and lifestyle for 3 years. I did not mean it like that. How did you mean it exactly? She was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke again, her voice was smaller. My friends were looking at you funny and I got embarrassed. Embarrassed of your grandmother, the grandmother who has been paying $27,000 a year for your education. The grandmother who bought your car, your clothes funded your social activities, and saved $64,000 for your college education. Another long silence. $64,000? I have been putting $1,100 a month into a college fund for you since you were 12. Did you think your mother could afford Brookside Academy on her marketing salary? I could hear Kayla starting to understand the scope of what she had thrown away. I can put the money back, she whispered. I can fix this. No, Kayla, you cannot, because this is not about money. This is about respect, and you cannot put respect back once you have thrown it away. The third week brought the credit card crisis. Megan had been using credit cards that I had co-signed for thinking the limits were based on her income alone. When my name came off as guarantor, those limits dropped dramatically. Her card was declined at the grocery store, declined at the gas station, declined when she tried to pay for Kayla's senior pictures, which had been scheduled months in advance. Megan called me in tears. Mom, I cannot even buy groceries. My credit cards are not working. They are working fine, Megan. The limits have just been adjusted to reflect your actual income instead of mine. What do you mean, your income? You are retired. That is when I realized how completely they had misunderstood my financial situation. Megan, I need to explain something to you. When your father died, I did not just sit on his life insurance money. I learned to invest it. My portfolio is now worth $700,000. Dead silence. $700,000. I make about $55,000 a year in investment gains. That is what I have been using to support your family. Not my teacher's pension, not my small savings, my investment income. I do not understand. You live so modestly. You drive that old car. You shop at thrift stores. Because I chose to live below my means so I could support your family above theirs. But you and Kayla never saw that as a choice I was making. You saw it as something you were entitled to. The fourth week was when Kayla had to start at Roosevelt Public High School. It is a perfectly good school, but it is not Brookside Academy. No uniforms, no prestige, no wealthy classmates to impress. Megan called to tell me how the transition was going. Mom, Kayla is miserable. She says none of her Brookside friends will talk to her anymore. She feels like a social outcast. That is unfortunate, but it is also educational. Educational. How she is learning what happens when your lifestyle is built on someone else's generosity and you bite the hand that feeds you. Meanwhile, I was learning something too. I was learning what it felt like to spend my money on myself for the first time in years. I bought myself a new wardrobe, not designer clothes, but quality pieces that made me feel confident and attractive. I traded in my 2015 Toyota for a lovely 2022 model with all the features I had been admiring. I moved to a beautiful apartment with a view of the mountains. For the first time since Frank died, I was living like a woman with $700,000 in investments, not like someone stretching a pension. I also joined an investment club for retirees and discovered a whole community of people who appreciated my financial knowledge. These were people who saw my modest background and impressive portfolio growth as achievements to be proud of, not embarrassments to hide. 6 weeks after the party, Megan and Kayla came to see me at my new apartment. Kayla barely spoke the entire visit, but I could see her taking in the upgraded furniture, the better neighborhood, the clear signs that I was no longer living like someone on a tight budget. Mom, Megan said carefully, I want you to know that I have talked to Kayla extensively about what she said to you. She understands now that it was wrong. Kayla nodded miserably. I am sorry, Grandma. I really am. I was just trying to fit in with my friends and I said something stupid. I looked at my granddaughter, really looked at her. She had lost weight from stress. Her clothes were from Target instead of the boutiques I used to fund. She looked tired and genuinely remorseful. Kayla, I appreciate your apology, But sorry does not undo the damage. Sorry does not erase the fact that you were willing to humiliate me to impress people who clearly were not worth impressing. Can't we start over? She asked quietly. We can have a relationship, sweetheart, but it is going to be very different from what we had before. What do you mean? I mean no more automatic financial support. No more assuming that Grandma will pay for things. No more taking my generosity for granted. Megan jumped in. Mom, what about the college fund you mentioned? The college fund still exists, $4,000, but Kayla will need to earn access to it. How? By showing me consistently over time that she values our relationship for more than what I can give her financially. By treating me with respect and gratitude, not just when she needs something. And if she does that, Megan asked hopefully, then we will see. But it will not be automatic, and it will not be unconditional. Not anymore. 3 months later, Kayla started working part-time at a local coffee shop to help Megan with car payments and her own expenses. It was the first job she had ever had, and honestly, it was good for her. She texts me regularly now, but the texts are different. Instead of asking for money, she tells me about her day, about what she is learning in her new school, about how work is teaching her the value of money. Last month, she used her own earned money to buy me flowers for my birthday. They were not expensive flowers, but they meant more to me than all the designer parties I had ever funded. I wanted to get these for you myself, she said when she brought them over. Not ask you for money to buy you a present with. That is when I knew she was finally starting to understand. Megan has been working on rebuilding our relationship too. She started asking me about my investments, genuinely interested in how I built my portfolio. She has even started investing some of her own money, inspired by what I accomplished, starting at 68. I never realized how smart you were about money, Mom. She told me recently, I always thought Dad handled all that. I learned, Megan, it is never too late to learn. Do I regret cutting off their financial support? Not for a minute, because what I gained was something much more valuable than what they lost. I gained my self-respect back. I gained relationships based on love rather than financial dependency. And I gained the satisfaction of knowing that my money is mine to give or withhold based on how I am treated. The college fund is still there, growing with interest. Kayla will probably get access to it eventually, once she has proven that she values me as her grandmother, not just as her ATM. But more importantly, I have kept the larger lesson. I learned that you cannot buy love or respect with money. You can only buy dependency and entitlement. And I learned that sometimes the kindest thing you can do for people you love is to let them discover what their choices actually cost. If you have ever felt taken for granted by family, you have been supporting. Remember this: you have more power than you think, and it is never too late to use it to demand the respect you deserve. Because dignity is not something you can put a price on, and it is definitely not something you should ever have to pay other people to give you. So that is my story. I would love to hear what you think. Have you ever had to set boundaries with ungrateful family members who expected your generosity but did not show appreciation? Let me know in the comments and subscribe for more stories like mine.